pleasant pheasant plucker.
Pleasant pheasant plucker.
I am the pleasant pheasant plucker's son.
I am the pleasant pheasant plucker's son. Oh gosh.
I am only plucking pheasants.
I'm only plucking pheasants.
Till the pleasant pheasant plucker comes.
Hi and welcome to the Ruby Tuesday. My name is Ruben.
And I'm Kay.
And today we are reviewing The Outsider.
The Outsider begins with a seemingly straightforward investigation into a gruesome murder of a young boy. But when an insidious supernatural force edges its way into the case, it leads a seasoned cop and an unorthodox investigator to question everything they believe in.
HBO obviously created this. It's an adaptation from a Stephen King novel. There are 10 episodes, and it's safe to say that this series is a very slow burn.
Yeah.
But stick with it. I know a few of my friends have been waiting till it's finished so they can kind of binge watch the whole lot because that's how they like to watch things. And if you're one of those and you watch the first two or three episodes, because the first one starts at I thought it was quite a intense race, quite an intense pace. The way it opens is you're like, whoa, on the edge of your seat. And then episode 2 and 3, even 4, are slow because they're building the story, they're crafting a narrative. And if you're thinking while you're watching this is not for me, this is too slow, don't do that. Stick with it, because it's one of those stories, one of those films. You get a few now and again where the payoff is worth sticking out what they've been building throughout the series.
When I first came to The Outsider, I didn't know anything about it, and that's how I like it. I like to go into these things a bit blind. So I did not know that it was based on a Stephen King. I didn't even really know what it was about, and I don't like watching the trailers because I feel like they set you up some false expectations quite often, and then you end up feeling just, unhappy with what you're viewing. So I tend to try and stay away from that as much as possible. And I have to say that because I didn't know that it was Stephen King initially, when the supernatural starts to creep in, it's very unsettling. It's very unnerving, and you kind of feel like you're one of the characters in the show. Like if this was real life and this was unfolding in real life, it would be incredibly unnerving. And I think the creators of the show have done that really well. They've captured that unease that Stephen King has throughout his writing. They've really managed to put that into the show, in my opinion.
Yep. But don't let that stop you if it's like a Stephen King thing and you're like, oh no, now I know it's a Stephen King thing, I'm not going to enjoy it. You will. There are a few Stephen King adaptations that, in my opinion, don't work as well from the books. They just haven't been adapted well. The perception of what your mind sees and creates from the book to films and series, it's very hard to make it be as good as that, like as good as what's in your mind.
Yeah.
This one, as far as I'm aware, the fans are loving because it's a real kind of love letter to the book. It may not have everything in it, but there's a lot that's gone in here to really create the tone of something that when you get a good Stephen King adaptation, it's there. It makes you feel, like you said, uneasy the whole way through, but you're not quite sure why you're feeling uneasy, because what's been done here with this series is one of those very clever mechanics that we've lost, say we, as an entertainment medium. As a whole, this is less is more. And so, if you think back to films like Aliens, or Alien even, the first one, you don't see the monster, the alien, until like the first hour into the film. You see bits and snippets and little, misses. It's the similar thing in this series. So they're always investigating what's going on. They're always trying to explain away the supernatural. Because in your right mind, you wouldn't believe if it's based on this world, this earth, and our thinking. We like to base things on facts, and then you get certain people who just are easily like, yeah, I believe in this now. And then they try and swing you, and you're like, no, you're kooky. Like, no such thing exists. So it's always playing away with that supernatural element, and yet as a viewer you were willing them to believe in what's going on, because you can see what's going on. You get the hindsight, you get to see,
you get the overview, you can see both sides. So and
that's quite tough as a viewer to watch, because you want your heroes to beat the bad guy. And I love it when a villain is a true villain. Not
easy to beat. I thought the acting was exceptional. I thought there were some amazingly strong moments, especially when there's a heightened emotion, and there is quite a lot of that throughout this series. But there are moments where you really feel like you're not watching an actor act, you're actually watching a human being go through something awful. And I didn't feel like there were any players on the field who were letting the team down. I thought they were all really exceptional. And I particularly enjoyed the woman who played the investigator.
Yeah, Cynthia Erivo was a standout for me. I have not seen much of her work, but for me, between her and the cop Ben, the actor, they carried the show for me. And they were almost polar opposites. So you have this really dry cop. The way he holds himself is very unusual for a cop. He kind of stands awkwardly. He stands like he's not sure of himself. And I think that's a characteristic that he obviously either has been directed or picked up himself. And he carried that through all of the 10 episodes. You never quite know what he's doing or what he's thinking. The way he holds himself,
Although I didn't notice it in the first episode.
I did, yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
He creates this whole character, this persona that you're always wondering what's going on with him. He kind of has a blank face, but when you see him give off emotion, it's so much more hard hitting because he's had the blank face the whole time.
Yeah.
And then you get almost the opposite with this... she's a private investigator who sees the world differently. And it's so enjoyable to see the way she calculates and looks at her environments, and whenever she's on screen, and especially when they're on together, the way they bounce off each other in a not bouncy way is very interesting to watch. And it's by far some of my most interesting, enjoyable performances I've seen this year. I think it's very good. Those two, not to say taking anything away from the other actors, because they're all great, but those two I just thought were so good. This series actually has a really great ending. As we said, there's a reason why you need to stick with it. And it's one of those series when you get to that last ending, without doing any spoilers, you're kind of blown away, really.
Yeah.
And I was. And you really feel rewarded for sticking with the series. And that's not like it was a hard slug or really difficult to do. For me, I'm going to give this an A+. I couldn't have asked for more. I couldn't have asked it to be created in any different way.
I agree. Great.
We're going to do a separate video, so do check that out on the post-credit scene and the possibility of season 2. So if you're interested in that, chat to us there. But thanks so much for watching. Chat to us in the comments below. What is your favorite Stephen King adaptation, movie or film?
Yeah.
I'd be interested to know about that. Thanks so much for watching this review, but most of all, until next time, remember,
live long and Tuesday.